I think a successful business person, firstly, obviously, has been profitable both for himself or herself and also for their company. But these days it's much broader than that. I think one needs, in terms of success, to have led people, to have been innovative, to have actually been involved in one's community, and I think also, in my opinion, to have been able to stand by one's own good qualities and not to have deviated from them. I believe that businesses that want to stay ahead of the curve have to basically not just be making short-term profits, not just be only looking at what they're doing within their business, but they have to look more broadly and more long-term. I think they have to be sustainable in what they're doing and be very aware that they're building a business for the long term in a society that requires of them much more than just taking money, but actually to contribute to the well-being of consumers, stakeholders generally. I think continuous learning is important in one's life, full stop. And I'm looking forward, I might say, when I get old, to continuously learn something that's probably got nothing to do with what my business life has been. But I think in one's career, standing still is very dangerous. I think all the time you've got to be questioning what you're doing and absolutely have this thirst for more knowledge, because these days a complete person is someone who not only understands what they're doing, but explores how far their society is going and indeed the work they're doing within it. I believe that philanthropy and social consciousness is vital to the individual, full stop. And as individuals make up small businesses and big businesses, I believe it's vital for all. I think that if we only think of ourselves, and it goes back to when we were little kids, if you were selfish, it was difficult. If you were open and contributing, life was much easier, both for the community and also for yourself. This is the same in business of any size. You can't expect your business to prosper, your people to want to come and work with you and stay with you, unless one's involved very generously and genuinely in one's community, and I might say, not only in one's community, but in the world. I think that the first thing I would say to people starting out in business, and indeed those who are at the bottom rung, so to speak, of the corporate ladder, I think big. I think believe in yourself, and I think don't be too focused on just the myopia of one's own life. Think about where you fit. Think about the community generally, and think about, I believe, not only one's loyalties, but also one's contribution. And be testing all the time what you're doing, what it means, and what contribution it can make. Well, I think that SHIFT is a very nice, small summary of what one needs to do. But I don't actually think it's enough, and I think a SHIFT conference, if it is starting a journey, is doing a really good thing. I think to shift from A to B may well be a good thing for a short time, but generally doesn't work. You've got to keep shifting. You've got to keep moving. And that doesn't mean you leave things quickly or you don't really look at what you're doing and you leave things undone. All I'm saying is that life is a continuum. It is a moving away from one point to another in a gradual and good process. You can't stand still. I like the concept of Rotary. And I state quite categorically, I've never been a member and I don't go to meetings, but I do believe that the concept that Rotary stands for, which is that people have their lives, but they contribute as part of their lives to a wider forum. that they contribute to their communities and they try and do good for others, not just by focusing on what's good for them. I think this is terribly important. And it's interesting, having been and addressed a few Rotary conferences over the years, I've always seen the people as not only generous, but quite happy in what they're doing. And I suspect the reward for being open, for being honest, and for being a contributor through a Rotary type cause is a big smile on one's face, and a deserved one.